and welcome to the Women's Empire Virtual Summit. My name is Rachel, and I am the founder of the Rock and Body Lifestyle. It is fitness and nutrition and life coaching and everything all in one, because I know that it starts with the body. Rock your body, rock your life. This virtual summit is about relationships, and the funny thing is I had already planned on giving you this whole other message about empowering yourself and just all these wonderful things, because I normally teach that in my programs anyways. But today I have been hit really strongly where the voice is saying there's another message. So I am going to give you some radical truths and some statistics and some things about how to rock your relationships with your teenagers. I have three children. My oldest is now 21. He is my son. And then I have a 17-year-old daughter and a 14-year-old daughter. And I quite frequently hear people say things like, oh, the teenagers are so hard, or having kids is just so hard. And I think it's awesome. Like, I have loved every single stage of my children's lives. And I think that there's another way of being a mother and being a person that co-empowers your children. And if you were to ask me what my favorite thing to do is, it would be honestly to hang out with my kids. Like, I love what I do. I love that I get to spend time with women. I love the power that I get to see from them when they start empowering themselves and when they start getting confidence. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I love coming home and just seriously hanging out with my kids. And it kind of comes naturally. So really, I'm just going to share with you some really valuable things. I've been divorced twice, and with divorce, there comes this whole other side of different things that you get to navigate with your children and how to empower them to be able to not take sides, to be able to stand in their own power and rise and get their own ideas. And I think sometimes, especially in this world where there's so much divorce and so much conflict and there's so many things out there that our kids are dealing with, and at the same time, we're moms and we're doing our own thing, right? And that's so powerful and awesome. And that's what Women's Empire is about, is empowering yourself, leading from the front. And I love it. And that's what I planned on actually talking about. So bear with me, because the voice is loud and clear that moms get to hear this. So I am going to ask you to take a few minutes with me. Breathe. And I am going to ask you to be open. Extremely open, because I'm going to give you some really hard things right now, some big facts that your teenagers are dealing with on a daily basis. And I see it all the time, not just with my own kids, but with their friends. And I want you to know what's really out there. And are you willing to look at it? Are you willing to listen? And are you willing to build your relationships with them so that you are prepared to take in the information, be present with them, and co-empower them. So here it goes. Did you know that, I'm getting emotional, by the time your daughter is in 6th grade, her and her friends will be standing around at the lunch tables, and half of them will be starving themselves because they are worried about how fat they are. Did you know that by the time they reach 7th grade, they will be asked to share a nude picture? Did you know that by the time they are in 8th grade, they will know where to find marijuana? They will know who sells it, how to get it. Did you know also that by 8th grade, 6 out of 10 girls are cutting? And you might think, I know my daughter. I know my son. This isn't really happening to them. They're fine. Women, it is extremely high statistics. And I want you to be prepared. And I want you to be the one that's able to have the conversations with them about cutting, about suicide, about depression, about drugs, about self-esteem, about body image, about sex, about contraception. All of these things, did you know that your daughter has already been exposed to all of this by 8th grade? Now that might feel super heavy. And man, I was in for a surprise because I thought, I know my kids, I've taught them different. We talk about these things. I'm safe. Sisters, they are going to learn about it from someone. Are you going to be willing to empower yourself enough that you can shelf your stuff and listen to them? Will you listen? Will you listen? And will you shelf your stuff and your insecurities so that you can listen? So I went into some pretty deep stuff, and I'm telling you, it's out there. And I didn't know how prominent it was, but our kids are dealing with bullying. And I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, if people were saying things about me, at least I didn't have a cell phone. So I could go home and be in my own space and be in serenity and not deal with it and then just show up the next day to school. Our kids don't get that luxury. Whatever happens, there are no secrets. And whatever happens is out being exposed to everyone. And it doesn't go away. And they are being called names. And this is why there's so much depression and so much suicide and so much feeling not worthy. And women, we get to stand. And we get to empower ourselves. That's what this whole 5 points of power, this is what this whole women's empire focuses on, is empowering yourself so that you can lead from the front. April says, the queen rises or the family dies. You're the queen. And are you going to be aware, and are you going to build the relationships with your teenagers so that they can weather the storm? I've always believed that our truest calling is being a mother. I love being a mom. And some days, man, I learn my lessons. And some days, I get to own when I screw up. I get to own when I fail. Because if I don't own that and show it and take responsibility, how are they going to learn that it's okay to fail and get back up? See, us being strong means that we get to keep getting back up. And how can we even expect them to? How can we expect them to if we're not standing in our truth? We can't. Children don't learn by words. You can tell them till you're blue in the face. Children learn through modeled behavior. So, with all of that, I know that's really big. I am going to shift into how you can learn to communicate, how you can start building your relationships with your girls. And I'm saying girls because my son's 21, and it's a different ball game. Right now, I'm in the middle of my 17 and 14-year-old daughter being at home. But let me tell you, the pain started for me. Actually, I remember I was the drill sergeant mom. Like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to get good grades, blah, 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 right? And when my son was 13. When my son was 13, we had like a total blowout. And it takes a lot for me to kind of lose it. But we had a total blowout. He was doing, like, let me step back, take some responsibility here. I was expecting him to hold a certain level of, at this time, hold a certain level of his grades and some responsibility. And he was just at that point where he was trying to figure out who he was. And it just wasn't, we just weren't gelling. So I got to learn how to communicate. At this time, I wasn't doing amazing. I was doing the best I could, but I wasn't doing amazing. And I was still in the mindset of like, I've got to teach him. 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 And I've got to be hard on him. And I've got to show him that he's better than he is, right? Or better than this behavior is modeling. And I remember having this big, huge blowout with him. And we were both screaming. And I was punishing him. And his punishment was to take away his phone. And we were running around the house, and I mean, I'm not even like this at all anymore, so it's kind of comical to think about it. But we were running around the house, and I had pinned him down, and I went to grab his phone and had scratched his arm. And I was holding him. He's like as big as me at 13 years old, and I remember the look in his face. This was the pain point for me. It was a look of fear and disappointment and a feeling of failure. And I remember looking at him and thinking, I never want my children to feel fear from me. And that was the changing point for me, that it's time to do something different. And since then, I have implemented actions that I am going to share with you, so that I started building a super close relationship, so that guess what? I know when my girls as friends have had sex by 8th grade. I know we have those hard conversations. And I listen. You know why? Because it's important for me to be there, to empower them to make good decisions, to empower them to learn how powerful their body is and why it's so important to be the diamond, I guess. So anyways, that's what made me change. That's what made me kind of go, oh, this is my turning point. That was years ago. So he was 13. He's now 21. Now I receive text messages from him like, Mom, I love you. I'm so proud of you. You've accomplished so much. Just randomly, like, we'll text each other, hey, how you doing? Like, my kids actually talk to me. I know a lot. I'm sure there's things that maybe I don't know, but I want you to be able to take some tools, implement them into your relationships with your kids now. Because guess what? They need you. They're going to know things. Do you want them to learn their things from their friends? Or from their friends' parents? Or do you want to be the support system that gets to stand with your kids and empower them to just be who they are meant to be? So, here we go. So the first thing I wanted to share to rocking your relationships is the first book that I read was The 5 Love Languages. And I read it actually so that I could learn about my spouse and about myself and kind of figure out how I operate. And what was really interesting is I started reading it and I was like, okay, now I'm going to find out like what my son's love language is, what both my daughter's love languages are. And that is super powerful, because as soon as you learn what their love language is, you can communicate with them in those ways. So I'm recommending implementation. You can get it on Audible. You can get it on Amazon. But it's the 5 love languages. Super, super powerful in how to learn how to communicate and how to give in the best way that your children will receive the love and appreciation. Second thing I started doing was, which is kind of cool because April implements this in her program too, is with your relationships, you're going to pick a couple of people where you're texting or whatever, showing love and appreciation. So I will text my kids like, hey, have a great day, I love you, whatever, even though I saw them in the morning, like different things that I appreciate and love about them, helping them to feel good, feel empowered, because we are the ones that we're providing the safe space, the safe haven, the container of love for our kids. And that was always my goal, is when my kids come home, this is a place that is safe. They can really express who they are. In fact, since I'm divorced, they have 2 households, and that is something that has been very interesting to watch them navigate, because at this house, they definitely can communicate in ways that are super authentic to them, that they don't feel judged. And it's not that the other household is judging them. It's just that there's things that are appropriate for them to speak about at other places, and then they know that they can come here and pretty much say whatever they want, and I'm able to shelf my stuff. So if you're not understanding what shelf your stuff that means for me, I just kind of take in, like, we all have our own perceptions and our own ideas and all of that, but for me, I take all of my ideas and my beliefs and I go, okay, I'm here to be present for them. What do they need? And what do I get to hear and listen? They just want to be listened to. So shelving my stuff means that all of my ideas and the stuff where I like kind of want to coach my kids through stuff, I'm going, okay, put it over here. Be present. Listen to them. What are they saying? What are they communicating to me? What's their body language? What's their vibration? That's the word that comes to me. What's their vibration? If you ask your kids, like, hey, how was your day? And they're like, good. Like, they're not doing good. Okay? So it's always about like asking more questions, getting more involved with them. Like, what, instead of being like this busy mom, go, 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 how can you be super present with your kids? Okay. One thing that I did, I used to, we become the taxi moms sometimes, right? And I used to, in the past, kind of feel like, oh my gosh, all I do is drive, right? And then I switched that mentality around and I was like, I have this time with my youngest one for 20 minutes straight with no interruptions. And so I switched that into bringing up conversations, speaking with them, finding out more about them, what they like to do. I mean, what they eat for lunch. So what their favorite part of their day was. We always say that when they get in the car. What was your favorite part of your day? That's a question you can ask them. Second thing, so I talked about love languages, asking them, being present, asking them what their interests are, what they did, what their teachers' names are, what friends they hung out with that day. Just really becoming present with them, okay? There's also another book that I love. It's called The Little Soul and the Sun. And it talks about how people are placed into your life, and to place in your life to be able to experience the things that you actually asked Heavenly Father to experience in this life. And so when you, it's really a good book to be able to read with your children, because it kind of helps them get a different perspective of when somebody might be mean on the playground. Then you can kind of go into the whole, like, well, what did that teach you? And how did that make you feel? And what kind of solutions can you create? First you listen, and then you just ask them what they think. Have them come up with ideas, and then you can help them like navigate different ways, just by being there for them. The other thing that I'm thinking about right now is creating their day. So all the things that you're learning right now in Women's Empire, or in Women's Empire, all those things that we get to sharpen our own tool sets and our own skill sets, implement, model that, bring it into your homes. Because you journaling, you taking care of your body, you meditating, all those things are going to be so powerful as you pass that on to your children and being a part of that with them. Building relationships to me is super important, and really the thing that I've found in my life is just having daily conversations with them. Be super present. You are called. They have been given to you as a gift. You are called to be their mother. Part of that is just being present, enjoying your time with them, getting into conversation, listening to them. So, sister, this is your time. And I honor you for where you're at. I honor you for coming here and being in a space of these powerful women and this empire, this incredible empire. And we stand strong, and we stand stronger together. Our teenagers need us. We need to be able to take them from codependency to co-empowerment. We need to be able to communicate with them, and not from a judgment status. Not, you are their mother, and you are also their gift. These children have been placed into your care because you are the best one to help them navigate through. That's a lot of responsibility, and it's freaking awesome. It is a gift. It is a blessing. It starts with communication, daily communication, being present. That is the biggest thing that just keeps coming to my mind, is just be present with your kids. They need you. What else are you doing to bridge that gap with them? Are you engaging in daily conversation? Because it is necessary. So, daily affirmations, that's another thing. I started doing that with my girls, and so we would set out and go, okay, what are you going to create for your day? And when my girls were little, they would say, when my kids were little, they'd be like, happiness, joy, whatever, and so then we would talk about, like, what does that mean? In any situation, are you going to create joy? And how would you create joy in any situation? And so at the end of the day, after school, they'd come home and I would be like, so, how did you create joy today? And they would be able to rattle it all off. So just creating intentions, daily conversation with them, finding out their love language, making sure we definitely stress on having weekly date nights with our spouse. Make sure that you're having one-on-one time with your kids. And sometimes, that might be 10 minutes. It might be 10 minutes. I highly recommend having time to go out with them one-on-one. Like actually on a date night with your kids, or a date day. And for me, what's worked in my family is I actually asked all of my kids, I said, how do you feel loved by me? And they were like, that's a weird question, Mom. I don't know how to answer that. And I was like, can you remember a time when you just knew, like, Mom had your back? Mom freaking loved me, just a really, really good time. And each one of my kids has had a different experience where they've known that. For my son, he replied to me, there was a situation going on, and I stood in my power at the time with my husband, and he didn't want something, and I felt really strong that this should be something that is implemented in my son's life. And I stood and I said, I feel this. This is something that I'm feeling really strongly about. And so I had his back. And I had no idea that this was such a big deal to him. But for him, just knowing that he could trust that what he wanted mattered. So I know that for him, now in every, I really listen to him and find out what he really wants, so that I can pay attention and navigate some different conversations in helping him navigate getting closer to his goals, if that makes sense. The second thing, one of my daughters loves going out to lunch with me. Like, that is one of her favorite things. So we go out to lunch, and that's really, like, that does it for her. Like, she loves it. She loves having that one-on-one time. My other daughter, she loves, like, getting her nails done and doing stuff like that. Like, she just loves, like, going to spas and feeling girly and feeling pretty. And so each one of your kids will have a different way where they just feel super loved by you. Listen and apply. Implement. Do it on a regular basis. And these might sound like really simple things, but I'm telling you, they build your relationship. My kids know that they can come to me with anything. And they know that I will step back from, like, the mom space for a minute and show up in love. And I want that for you. It takes daily implementation. It takes daily action. It's up to you. And now that you're aware of these radical truths that are happening in our society, I'm sure you've heard lots of stuff. And if you're like me, you think, probably not going to happen to my kid. You guys, it is happening. It is happening. And it is your responsibility to be close enough to your children so that you can help empower them to stand strong. And to let them know that them making mistakes doesn't change their value and their worth. That you are there to stand beside them. As April says, you are not there to fight their battles for them. But you can get in the trenches and you can teach them how you can stand by their side and they have your love and support no matter what. And you will help them become stronger, responsible adults. So that's the message that I have for you. I feel like a little bit preachy, but that's the message that was coming through today. So what I want to share with you is I do run fitness and nutrition. I do lifestyle coaching at the same time, and you will have results. And I do implement these types of things. And so it goes along with the Women's Empire, empowering yourself so that you can lead from the front and empower your family. So that's all I have for you. If you are feeling called or feeling in tune or just wanting more information about the realities that your children are facing and maybe how to learn to communicate with them, maybe you've tried communicating and it may not you might feel like it's not working. I'm here for you. And that's it. I'm here for you. and I want you to be able to communicate with your kids. So, have an amazing next few days in this virtual Women's Summit, and that's it.